Hey, and welcome to Podcast on Wheels, powered by Power Loops. Today we have a special guest via the web in studio. Mr. Ashton Shanks is coming to us today. Ashton has been a friend of the family's for a while, and he's been working on, a lot of really cool things, from a fitness journey to business mergers to growing, and too many things for me to put together right here. But today we also have Stu co-hosting with me. So Stu, say hello.
Hello. Glad to be here, brother. Ashton, we wanted to have you on, man. Like I said, like I was talking to you before, I have been friends and been following with you guys on Facebook and Instagram for several years, you and Taylor, and wanted to just talk to you a little bit about your journey and kind of where you started as an intern there and then where you are now, and what's the latest in marketing. I know you guys, I think the latest company is Bad Marketing, right? That's your current.
Yep.
Are you still with Heman X, or how's all that work?
Yeah, so Heman was essentially a merger with 4Media, which was my now business partner Eddie Malouf's company. That was his agency, and I had Heman, and we merged together in October of 2023 to become Bad Marketing.
Okay, cool. So he's the one that actually does your podcast, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And so anyway, Brian, do you want to say anything else?
Yeah. So Ashton, a few years ago, Courtney was able to hear you speak. I believe it was at Colin's house here in Huntsville.
Yeah.
So when and when she came home, she's teaching me and telling me all the things that you guys do. But just for the people, kind of tell us what you do and what you were doing there and where you're at now.
Yeah. So, my background is in marketing. I've been in marketing since I was 16. And really at that event, Colin owned an e-commerce company called Redline Steel. And my company at that time, Heman Media, we were the advertising agency that was supporting his company and his brand. And so, I get the fortunate pleasure of traveling around and getting to speak and nerd out with other business owners about advertising, marketing, customer acquisition. And so, at that event, that's what I was there for.
Awesome. And one thing Courtney mentioned is, in your companies and as far as your time schedule and how you kind of take care of your people, do you do that a little different than other people, or how do you it was pretty cool. I think there was some things that you do different with your staff and to prepare them or give them the creative time.
Yeah. So, holistically, I think what we really bring at Bad Marketing and through all my companies is just a higher level of conviction. I think we've attracted the great talent people who don't just want to be good at their jobs, but they want to be good all around, what we would call high performers. There are people who want to have the highest amount of productivity. They want to be known for being one of the best at their craft, whether that's copywriting or creative or project management. And so within our companies, not only do we do really extensive training on every person that we hire, we have a pretty standard, right now it's really about a 10-week program for the public markets. But when someone is hired, they spend really the first 2 to 3 weeks going through our programs on managing mindset, managing your calendars, managing biology, but then moving into marketing, psychology, consumer research, media buying. And so really, when they come out of it, they have a very good base foundation. For me, when I started my first company, our hardest part to growing the business was talent acquisition, getting people that could fulfill on their roles in a really, really good manner and our standards of excellence. And so what I eventually had to figure out doing after trying to just go out and pay people a lot of money for talent, which was what, people told me, is like, you want talent, you got to pay for it. And so I started doing that. But that wasn't working. And so eventually I just realized that I needed to find a way to train people to become what I needed them to become the level of excellence that I needed. And so I started that program back in 2020, really started working on it in previous companies back in 2018, but really kind of finalized it when I opened my business. And that's really kind of been our base pillar ever since, is getting people to learn how to manage the biology and mindset and stress. And so it's been a really big factor for our growth and success.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Ashton, I want to ask you, I kind of, like I said, I started studying this back in 2014, back in the early days, I guess, of the online digital revolution, if you will. And back then, it was more SEO. Everything was SEO, organic search. And then, everybody and their mother started doing it. And, Google started cracking down because they were doing all these, people were doing these crazy links, these, the whole game changed. And then paid ads came into play. And it was kind of a convergence because, Google started giving credibility to authority. Everything was about authority and brand, and of course it's evolved and gotten better and better and better. Well, some people may say it's better. I guess that depends on how you look at it. But they kind of tweak their model, and every time they would make a change or an update, it would throw everybody else off and that sort of thing. So it's kind of evolved. The evolution of it has kind of evolved to what it is now. So can you kind of take us through that journey, like when you started doing this, I guess, as an intern, and your knowledge of that space and how it's evolved to where it is now?
Yeah. So, really my education into marketing started much earlier than my internship at Traffic and Funnels. Like I said previously, I fell into marketing when I was 16. And around that time, it was very much the SEO or online store generation. Content wasn't really a big thing back then. And so it was much more email focused or website development focused. And so around that time, that background was more in the e-commerce space, eBay and Amazon and things like that. And so back then, it was really much more focused on just how do we make sure we have good customer service? How do we make sure that the customer experience is good? And then how do we keep in contact with them via email? When I moved into internship at Traffic and Funnels, this would have been around 2018 or 2017. That was where I learned much more about the world of direct response and much more about the organic social media side. Yes. This is when people started paying attention to social media, where you can actually start generating revenue. And so I think the biggest difference from then was when the world of social media marketing came around, it became much more about how do I make connection with my audience, rather than how do I just let the audience know I exist, which was much more of my early days of marketing.
Yes.
And so when you can learn how to make the connection with audiences, that's when you start to really build communities and then eventually raving fan bases, which I think attributed a lot to the success of Traffic and Funnels.
Yes. And they kind of, again, I'm assuming you and Taylor have a pretty good relationship. They seem to, him and Chris both seem to have, revolutionized, I would say, the whole online marketing game, because it kind of evolved into a consulting agency type thing, correct?
Yeah. So they did a group coaching program that was much more consulting based, a done with you instead of done for you style.
Client Kit.
Yep, Client Kit was the flagship program of Traffic and Funnels. Yeah.
Step into the future with Power Loops, the king of off-grid power, where our proprietary system is changing the game of energy. This isn't just power, it's freedom. The freedom to live, work, and play anywhere, powered by our innovative technology that taps into the Earth's natural energy. Our system is designed for efficiency, durability, and sustainability, ensuring that you have reliable power 365 days a year without harming the planet. Whether you're traveling in the RV, the remote wilderness, or just opting out of traditional power grids, Power Loops provides the ultimate solution. Join us in leading the charge towards a cleaner, greener, and more empowered world. Power Loops, the king of off-grid energy.
What type of services now are you only working on high ticket, or are you pretty much consulting any business that's doing any sort of thing?
Well, we have quite a few different divisions now. So, we have about 172 staff members and about 5 different divisions. So we have a local business division that right now works a lot inside of like automotive shops, things like that. Then we have e-commerce, we have email division, we have Amazon division, then we have information division, which is like the consultants, coaches, course creators, where we can, work on those types of brands. But we have a lot of different brands that we work on.
Oh, wow. So you're doing all kinds of stuff. You're doing the content creation and everything.
Yeah, everything from content creation to CRO to email to ads to funnel build outs to webinar writing, all of it.
Wow, that's awesome. So like Brian and Courtney now have a health insurance agency, and like to get Facebook marketing and different marketing for they're doing for recruiting and to actually get leads. Is that are those type of things? Do you work with that type of business model?
Yeah, we do. The biggest thing for us is really just knowing that the offer is validated, the business has capacity for scale, and really that they're spending at least about $20,000 to $25,000 a month on advertising.
Gotcha. Ashton, that was just the main thing, man. Is just to kind of understand what how it's evolved and what you guys are doing now, and ways that ways that people that are watching this now might be able to utilize you guys. Do you go to your website and you have like a form they fill out, or how is the onboarding and consult? How does that work?
Yeah. Yeah, if people are interested, the best way to do it is just to go to our website, badmarketing.com. There you can find out more information about what we do, what our team looks like, but there's a form there that you can fill out if you're interested in learning more about, what we could do for your business.
Gotcha. That's awesome. And another thing that, like Brian was mentioning earlier, man, kind of following your fitness journey a little bit. Can you tell us about that? Because Brian, that's big for both of us. We've both gone through similar things in the past.
Yeah. I mean, all throughout my life, I think I'd struggled with weight. During younger years, it was obviously much easier in the summers to be skinnier. But I've been a pretty big boy throughout my whole life. And then really, once I got married at 18 in the past, and really since then, just really struggled with weight, and especially the entrepreneur side. I always prioritized work over my fitness or my biology or myself. And so just continue to get worse and worse. And ultimately I got to a point where it just, it went too far. And, I was at my height, I was at, I think, 284 pounds and just needed to make a change. And so, over the last year, I lost about 65 pounds, and a lot of it just came from simplification. When I had started my business and started making some money, I had the dietitians, I had the personal trainers. It just still wasn't working. And really last year in the beginning, I think I just kind of cut everything out and just said, like, what's the simplest thing that I can do?
Sure.
And for me, that was mostly, not strictly carnivore, but mostly carnivore diet. Making sure I'm eating the right amount of protein, making sure I'm walking more. In June of last year, I had the chance to kind of travel around a little bit, and being in Europe, you're just walking way more without even realizing, walking 12 to 15 miles a day, and you just don't recognize it. And the food is much better. And so, coming back is just, how can I keep it simple? Working out 6 days a week. I started doing jujitsu twice a week, and it's been great.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
So, Ashton, as you can kind of tell from talking to Stu and I, he's the one that handles all the technical side, and I'm just here for the fun. So, tell me, I remember years ago when I first started following you, you purchased an SUV for your family that came off the back of a truck, and you bought some cars and done some stuff. But what really motivates you to put in the effort and go for it like this? Like, is it a car? Is it a dollar? What motivates you, Ashton?
Here at Smith Financial Services, we take care of small business owners, 1099 contract workers, and their families. We know insurance can be rough if you're a small business owner, so we are here to make things easy. Visit our website, smithfinancial.services, to learn more.
It's a good question. I think that answer has changed several times over the years. I think when it started, I've always been a hard worker ever since I was a kid. I never really wanted to be an entrepreneur. It was not really something I ever thought about doing. But in anything I was doing, I just always wanted to be the best at. So whether I was 15 sweeping a construction shop, or I was in marketing, it was just, how do I become the best at this? And, then it started transitioning more into, okay, I can see a life for myself. I could see a potential, and if other people are doing it, why couldn't I? And then really it kind of moved in, I think, more into some physical, tangible assets. Growing up, we really didn't have much of anything. And so I think I was really gravitated towards having things, whether that's a nice car, all throughout, my adult life, I've always liked driving nice cars, even if I didn't think I could afford them. I was always having something nice.
Right.
But really, I think lately it's been much less of that and just been more of a, this is who I am. I would rather do nothing else. I don't really know if I can help it. And I think, in the early sides of entrepreneurship, and you always hear, coaches or influencers talking about like, what's your why, right? And for me, a big why for a long time was anti-human trafficking. And that was what I was doing, most of my things for. And while it's still a massive effort and massive passion of mine to help those areas, I had to sit down one day and ask myself of like, if human trafficking didn't exist in the world, would I still be doing what I'm doing? And the answer was yes. I would still be working as hard as I am. I would still be, pushing as much as I am. And so I had to come to the conclusion of like, while this might be a big motivator or a driving factor, it's not my why necessarily. And I think for now it's really just understanding of like, this is the way I'm designed as a human, and I like how I am as a human. And so I just kind of keep doing it.
Brother, that's awesome. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing that, and your motivating factor there with the human trafficking, because just gotten to be friends with a guy named Nick Alfano there in Nashville. Do you know Nick?
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's there. He's got the program and reprogram where men go and small business owners, dads, entrepreneurs, if you will, get together and get after it from a physical, mental, I'm going to be in Vegas at Brad Lee's place in a couple weeks with that group. And they're based out of Nashville, and that human trafficking thing. So we need to all get together, and make a difference. So, but man, tell us, I'm getting to meet people and getting to do things because of the studio. Is there anybody that you've gotten to meet or talk to or work with and you were like, holy cow, this person's, or is it all just, who's the coolest person, the best story? What you got?
I don't know about the coolest person or the best story, but I do think there's a lot of moments where I get to kind of look around and just be like, I'm really shocked that I'm here. I'm really shocked that I'm in this room, or that these people that either, used to be heroes of mine or I looked up to or still study from, that ask me for advice, or want to pick my brain. And it's a pretty weird moment, especially, when realistically, if I look back 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I was nothing, and so it's pretty wild to see how fast time can move, but also just I think when you serve people well and you do the right thing, and also like you're dedicated to actually providing value to other people, what doors will actually open. And so I find myself routinely in things like, okay, I'm invited to this private jet to go out to this party in Beverly Hills for a night, and then I'm flying back, or, I'm getting called into this discussion with a multi-billion-dollar company on what their customer acquisition should look like. And so I think it's just kind of numerous things all around that I look at and just go, how did I get here?
Right. Awesome. That's awesome. And Stu touched on the fitness and everything. And I just want to say that following you on social media and seeing you on stage, it almost seems like you got more of a energy, a presence. And by hearing your story today, it makes sense to me. I'm like, okay, I'm looking at a screen. I'm just looking at it, but there's a different vibe coming from you these days. It's like you are who you are. You're proud. You're going to do this regardless. And hearing that makes a lot of sense to me. So, but Ashton, I'm good. So Ashton, is there anything else? Is there something that a quote, a statement, anything that you would want to share with people that, means something to you, or just kind of something to wrap up here?
Yeah, I'd say that there's a couple ones that have floated in my head over the past year. This past year has been pretty transformative for me, and a different style, a different flavor of Ashton, I would say. I'd say in the early time of Ashton's entrepreneurial side, I was much more aggressive, much more, I'm going to outwork my problems and that's how I'm going to solve them. And it worked really well. But I think over the last year, I've evolved much more into what kind of Ashton do I want to be rather than what kind of Ashton do I know how to be. And so 2 quotes that have been really big for me is, one, you can never step in the same stream twice. What this essentially just means is that every single day is a unique opportunity, and to try to be aware as you can every day. Meaning you could come back to the same situation tomorrow or try to experience the same thing tomorrow, but technically speaking, you're a different person tomorrow than you are today. You have a new level of awareness tomorrow than you would today. And so every single moment that you're in, try to be as present and learn and glean as much as you can as possible. The second thing, the second quote that I really like is, if you don't like the music, change the instrument. Basically, if you don't like what's going on in your life, you don't like the thoughts you're having, or you don't like the relationships you're going through, or you don't like the problems, you've got to change the instrument that you're using to play the music, because we all play music. And sometimes when you just don't like what's playing, you need to go, what instrument am I using and how do I change it?
Gotcha.
That's awesome.
Gotcha, bro. And I love so much that your quotes were simple, which matches what you've done with everything else. It's simplistic, and it means a lot. And less is more, it sounds like, but let's just keep it simple. So, Ashton, I do appreciate you being here. Stu, appreciate you co-hosting with me today. And Ashton, we've had a great show. I appreciate you being here. Look forward to maybe coming up to Nashville, bringing this toy hauler and parking it outside and just showing you guys what it's about. So, again, thank you for your time today. And thank you guys for watching Podcast on Wheels, powered by Power Loops.